Hi everyone, my name is Julie, and I would like to share some tips that I wish I had known before I transferred to the law school that I had transferred to about a year ago. So a little bit of a background on me. I transferred from a T4 to a T1, and my experience is going from a T4 in my hometown to a T1 in a completely part of the country. So my experience might be a little bit different than other people if you're transferring from simply a T4 to a T1 in your hometown. I apologize in advance if I'm going to be just looking at myself the whole time, because I don't know what it's like to kind of look at like in the lens yet, because I'm not like a profesh. So I'll try to make it as least awkward as possible. Also, ignore the tweeting bird and the wind. Thanks, because I'm in quarantine. I'm not really in quarantine anymore, but my 2 internships are virtual, so I just get to be dressed up in my house all the time because 2020. So tip number 1 has to do with geography, and this is something really important to think about because you have to really think about whether you see yourself practicing in the city that you are going to transfer to. Now, ignore this, obviously, if you are not going to transfer to another city. But if you are going to transfer to another city, keep in mind that you are going to have to pass the bar in that state. You're going to have to pass character and fitness in that state, unless you obviously go into something where you could take the bar anywhere and practice, which is like immigration or something. Obviously that would be a very small amount of people, and you honestly don't know what you're going to do in law school until after you graduate from law school. And even after you graduate from law school, you might have a bunch of different ideas or get a job in something and then decide to go a different route. Anyway, be prepared to take a bar exam in the state where you will be attending law school, because inevitably that is where you build your network, that is where you build a relationship with professors. The professors probably have local connections. The internships that you're going to have local connections. They may offer you a job, etc. So keep that in mind. Make sure that you want to practice law in the state that you are going to law school in. Tip number 2 would have to kind of go piggyback off of tip number 1. If you're transferring to law school in a different state, I would really evaluate how important your family is to you, how important your current friends are to you. You may think that it's not that big of a deal for a couple of years to go to another state, but law school is a very stressful thing. So really keep in mind what you really need in your daily interactions, because you never know what kind of people are going to be in a law school. You never know if you're going to be able to easily make friends. Some people are not really into making friends, and they've just lived with their closest 5 friends around them their whole life, and they think it's maybe not a big deal if they move. But sometimes it may turn out to be a way bigger deal than you really think. Like, for example, I am a pretty outgoing person, I would say, but in law school, I am really to myself. I'm really to myself, and I didn't really realize how important my family is, in particular to me, and in particular to my well-being. Just to be able to see them at least once a week. And I also did not realize how important my friends are just to be able to see them whenever I need to see them, to be able to support them whenever I need to support them. This is obviously come in light of, the situation right now. Tip number 3, I would say you should really look at what you like at your current law school and what you really don't like in your current law school, and make sure that your new law school does not have the things that you don't like, or at least has less of them, and has the things that you do like. particularly things that were extremely important to you in your 1L year, which is obviously like the most stressful year. Number 4, I think I'm on number 4. I think that you, as you're going through law school, you realize how important mental health is, obviously. And I would, even if you think this is like fluffy stuff, I think it's very important to keep your mental health in mind, especially if you end up moving somewhere, and even if you don't end up moving to another part of the country, I would keep this in mind as well. Make sure that the law school that you go to has a really good mental wellness program, easily accessible, easy to make appointments. Make sure that, I'm not sure how you can figure this out, but make sure that it's covered adequately under your school insurance. My next tip is to, and I understand that this may not be possible during the time that we're living in right now, which is 2020, you should try to immerse yourself in that city and in that school that you are planning to transfer to, at least for like a week. In particular, the city. See how you feel, whether you like it or not, whether you like the vibe, whether you like the people. First of all, I would try to go to the school and to just take a look at it, like even from the outside. You know, look at the neighborhood, look at whether you like it, look at how you like the community that you're going to be around. Just take a look at the school, at least outside. Go on a little vacation to check the area out. Also, if you're able to go and tour the school, make sure they give you a full tour of the facility. Make sure that you have an opportunity to speak to at least one person that attends the school, and not somebody that the transfer committee connects you to. Go on Facebook, talk to somebody, reach out to them, and see how they like the school. Go on Above the Law, look at what they write about the school, because sometimes things can be really controversial at schools, and you have to make a decision whether you want to put yourself in that environment or not. If you're unable to actually go to the school because hashtag no money, hashtag quarantine, hashtag whatever else, if you're unable to go to another school, I would try to do as much sleuthing with regard to just forums, like I said, Above the Law. I would say just research the legal community, research as much as you can about the school, obviously without doing something illegal or whatever. My next tip is to not be completely enamored with the school. You really need to go on LinkedIn, you need to do your research. If there's a ranking difference of like 3-4 spots, and you're really leaning towards one school as opposed to the other, I would personally go with my gut. With regard to prestige, I think that obviously it is important in the legal community whether or not that's right or wrong. But you have to counterbalance that with whether or not you'll be able to build a solid network, whether or not you will be able to be there mentally, whether or not that school's name will actually really transfer over as well. You have to look at LinkedIn and see what alumni are in the place you want to work in. And with regard to prestige, I would also say if the school you're looking at has really like a difference of like 5 places with another school that's like considerably cheaper, you have to make that decision ultimately. But if you think that school's prestige is worth the money and it's worth the opportunities that it's going to afford you in that particular area, and in the particular area that you might think you want to practice in, obviously you have to make that call, but just keep that in mind. My next tip is obviously to look at the opportunities there are in the school. Look at things like different externships, look at different things like different opportunities to get involved in clubs that you like. different specializations that they are really good at. So I would really look at those things and see how easy it is, or whether or not you're able actually to participate as a transfer. My next tip, I probably should have mentioned it in the very beginning, but if you're transferring to another school, you really should try to get a law review if you want to get into a big law job. I myself did not write on for law review because I was way too overwhelmed with transferring, moving to a different part of the country. Some weird situations happened to me, so I did not write on law review. I didn't even try. I tried for like a day, and I was just way too overwhelmed with things. If that is not the case, you should also look at whether there are other options for some kind of legal writing, like a Supreme Court advocacy project or something like that. Things like that. Things that you could maybe try out for that would be close to a law review. Whereas, honestly, the best thing you could do is probably to get on law review, though. Going off of that, also look at whether or not you can get involved in moot court or in mock trial, because you might not get on law review. Make sure that those options are available to transfer students. Last tip would probably have to do with the grading system. You have to look at how or whether or not you are eligible for any kinds of honors once you graduate, based on whether you're a transfer or not. So just make sure that wherever you're transferring, you are eligible for some kind of honors. So those are my tips. Hopefully you found them helpful and not confusing, and hopefully I haven't said every third word, but I might cringe once I see this, once I edit it. So if you have any other questions for me with regard to transferring, please let me know, and please feel comfortable to reach out to me, and peace out.